Well, hello everybody, Mikey Kung Pao back here after quite a long, protracted absence from the world of YouTube. And we had a few things happen in the Mikey Kung Pao household. I gotta come back and give you a video blog in the next day or two to explain all that. But meanwhile, let's catch up on latest developments in the Jodi Arias trial. Namely, penalty phase of the trial, we should say. Namely, once again, she get another continuance, another one. So after they dragged this on for 4.5 years already, they continue to keep going. And defense strategy, maybe if we can drag this out for 10 years, everyone will forget about it and Jodi will be pardoned by the next president of the United States or something. And she can go out and be a hero to domestic violence victims everywhere while she torment Travis' family some more. Anyway, let's look at the developments in that and the nauseating Alyce Laviolette interview that Alyce do, showing that she has learned nothing in her life so far, even after all the events of the trial, and then we'll be right back. So, is that what you call, like, a predatory Ryan in sheep clothing? Oh, in this case, zebra clothing? I think what that might be right there.
They could have filed these motions a long time ago, not wanting television coverage and wanting to monitor the jurors' tweets, but they waited till the 11th hour.
I would say more like the 8 millionth hour myself.
Jordan Rose, are they playing the system?
I think this is kind of a Hail Mary because this is all they have, Jane. All they have is delay, because if they delay...
And they also have deny. Deny. Delay.
They think, well, heck, maybe she'll read a bunch of books to people in jail and the jury pool will feel sorry for her. Delay can only help their case, and so it's like justice delayed is justice denied. And in this case, the further they delay, the more hope they have.
I dig these new style, that little lumpy bun thing there, but I especially like the prison stripes right there. I dig that.
That somehow our prosecutor here in Arizona will drop the case, not go for death, or she'll be sympathetic. Not going to happen, but
no,
that's
I don't think Juan going to drop the case.
That's their ploy by filing motions late in the day last
John
week.
Lieberman, what do you think?
Well, the bottom line is they're just delaying the inevitable. I mean, Jodi's either going to be in prison the rest of her life or she's going to go to death row. What I find ironic, Jane, is this motion.
I vote for death row.
To ban live TV cameras from the courtroom. You won't find anybody who loved the cameras more, both before the trial, during the trial, and after the trial.
Amen, and amen.
Then Jodi Arias. How ironic now that her attorneys are saying we don't want any cameras in there when she gobbled up those cameras during interviews before, in the courtroom during being up there 18 days, and then afterwards doing even more TV interviews.
She gobbled them up, chewed them up, made little pieces out of them and spit them out again, them cameras. She loved them so much.
Outrage.
She ground up them cameras and sprinkled them on her toast. She loved them so much.
Defense attorney Danny Savala, she wants it both ways, as John said. Oh, when she wants the cameras, come on, line up, I'm going to do those interviews. But when she doesn't want them, when it's not to her benefit...
Go see my videos, if you haven't before, on Jodi's GagFest interviews that she did.
Get rid of the cameras. That's not the way it's supposed to work, Danny.
But then...
Well, just because she's a problematic client, that doesn't mean that she isn't entitled to...
Oh,
and sad over all the anger that the public directed at her and at Jodi Arias. Listen to this.
I was so sad that people were filled with such hatred for somebody they didn't know. And I'm talking about Jodi, not his slave.
Rollins, first of all, excellent exclusive. Kudos on getting that interview, but what is she talking about? Why is she still defending Jodi Arias when it's been made pretty clear that most of what...
Did you see how she's drinking again? Kauai Skeptic pointed this out before. It's like the arm way out there, the arm way out. It's so bizarre. Typical sociopath move, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, what else is she going to say?
She said on the stand was twisted, if not out.
Don't worry, we'll talk about Alyce in a couple minutes and look at her clip in more detail.
Right lies from beginning to end. I mean, it sounds like Alyce Laviolette is still believing that she killed in self-defense, even though the prosecutor proved that the bullet casing landed in blood, which means that her...
Well, he proved that and about 8 million other things that show it were premeditated, cold-blooded, murderer and that she's a sociopathic liar. But of course, Alyce, now even after all these months, she don't go back and look at all those tapes on Croaker Queen website and watch the actual trial that she couldn't watch when she were a witness. She could have gone back and looked at. Don't you think she'd be curious if this changed her whole life and all? Anyway, let's finish this little clip. Let's finish this little clip up.
This is, and she said, well, maybe second-degree murder. She's convinced, after getting to know Jodi and hearing all of this and looking all of it at this, that this was a self-defense scenario and that she was a victim of domestic violence. That's her opinion.
Yep, and it remained her opinion to this day. And of course, she have no remorse about that opinion of hers, and not change her mind at all, no matter what she could have studied since she trial get over. But anyway, let's look at a couple things with Alyce.
Alyce Laviolette talks about the hate she received after testifying for Jodi Arias.
It's very sad for me. I think, people were surprised I wasn't angry.
Right, hell you weren't. Now she's going to go on to say, I'm not sad for me, I'm sad for Jodi. How could they dislike someone they don't even know?
It really wasn't. I was so sad that people were filled with such hatred for somebody they didn't know. And I'm talking about Jodi.
Yeah, I'm talking about Jodi. No, not myself, of course. Let's take a look at the arrogant Laviolette for a second. Courtesy Kauai Skeptic's excellent stuff.
If you were in my group, I would ask you to take a time out, Mr. Martinez.
Judge, would you please admonish the witness to withhold those comments and ask them to disregard the outburst?
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, disregard the witness's last statement. Ms. Laviolette, please just...
Ladies and gentlemen, please disregard the puffed up, arrogant, lying, crazy, psycho, man-hating, witch from hell, so-called expert witness, who's going to whine later about why people don't like her, just because she's trying to get a mass murderer, 29 stabbing, throat-slashing sociopath freed, okay, on bogus self-defense claim. Okay, so what else did she have to say?
Answer the questions.
Yeah, answer the question. Now a very serious question. Let's see what Juan had to ask her there.
And with regard to Mr. Alexander, isn't it true that one of the things that you know with regard to the Reagan Housling instant messaging was that Mr. Alexander was exceedingly afraid because of the defendant's stalking behavior?
Overruled. Me?
I don't know that he's exceedingly afraid. I don't get...
Judge, may I then ask her what I think we'll need to function?
Yes, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take the evening recess.
I think he asked her this question about 87 times.
Ms. Laviolette, you are still under oath.
Before he could get a straight answer.
Mr. Martinez, you may continue.
Yesterday we finished off and we were talking about the Reagan Housley instant
Did that suit Wilmot? Nice suit.
That?
Yes.
And in it, Mr. Alexander expressed that he was extremely fearful of the defendant because of her stalking behavior, correct?
He didn't say he was extremely fearful. No, he didn't.
Judge, I think we need to approach that.
Raya, pant on fire.
And there's an indication to the reader that Mr. Alexander was extremely afraid because of the stalking conduct by Jodi Arias, correct?
I don't see any behavior supporting his fear, Mr. Martinez. I see no behavior
No, there was nothing to support his fear other than Jodi slashing his tires twice, climbing through his doggy door, and harassing all his former and present other love interest, and making death threat on them, and making bogus calls, and breaking into his email and his text. And we went over all this ground before. It was like a million things, and she knew all about it. She's such a liar.
supporting that fear.
Oh, why don't people like me after I get up and lie for Jodi Arias and make a complete fraud of myself and completely disabuse my profession? Okay,
And they
anyway.
were both laughing in the email as
Yeah.
they were talking
Not
about
at that time when he said that, correct?
No.
Judge, may I ask the question that we've been talking about?
That's the school marm, Jodi Rook. That you have a lot of rooks, like we said before. What else Kauai got on here? Let's check it out. Is that the end of that crip?
Jodi Arias, based on her stalking behavior.
He said,
No, please don't tell me what he said. Just answer my question.
he was afraid of her, yes.
Because of her stalking behavior, correct?
Correct.
Gee, that only took about like 3 days to get a straight answer out of her. Okay, thank you, Kauai, for that. Now let's go on to the whiny Alyce, who has now had a... Hey, stop working. Okay, we're going to take a pause. Something wrong here. Okay, technical glitch solved. Let's move
My
on.
name is Alyce Laviolette.
Laviolette spent nearly 3 weeks on the stand telling jurors she thought Jodi Arias was the victim of domestic violence. After a few days, she says the attacks began on social media and with nasty emails and voice messages.
I hope you choke on a chicken bone, you fat bastard.
Do women get called bastards? I think she might have picked the dumbest out of all of the complaint mails that she got. But anyway, I would like to note something here, which is the only person who made a credible death threat in this case, who was arrested for it, was a Jodi stalker. One of those Jodi fans who's a sociopath just like her and just like her friend here, Alyce. All right, let's see. And you all heard about that arrest. I put it in another video. The guy who was going to kill and blow people up and stuff like that. Let's see. She go on to say she have an anxiety attack.
Speaking engagement. Plus, people wrote horrible reviews about her book on Amazon. It got so bad that halfway through her testimony, she had an anxiety attack.
I woke up and I was crying and I was shaking. And I'm not like that. I mean, I've never had...
You know, I was having an anxiety attack when I was watching her testimony thinking, is she going to convince any of these jurors of these terrible lies that Jodi's telling is the truth? And she actually did persuade, like, the jury foreman and a couple other idiots came back later and said, yeah, I think maybe Laviolette's testimony, maybe Jodi was a victim of abuse, you know. So we all had an anxiety attack, but thankfully she got convicted anyway.
Had anxiety in my life.
In the end, Laviolette was successful in convincing some jurors, including the jury foreman, that Jodi Arias was a victim of abuse, which resulted in a hung jury for the death penalty case. But Laviolette says she is not going back for the retrial.
Why don't you want to go back?
Threats to my life, threats...
Yeah, threats to your life, huh? Hey, take a look at this here. Do you think the threats to her life are the equivalent of, say, 29 stabbings and a throat slitting that Travis got that she don't care anything about? Anyway, I noticed that the rooster style hasn't changed at all, just like her opinion hasn't changed at all, even though now she have time to go back and review all the stuff that she seemed to have missed before she was testifying at the trial. But anyway, I think she did a lizard tongue up here, but I think I overworked that one. Oh, there was Jodi doing lizard tongue.
Determine whether she gets the death penalty or life in prison.
We missed it, but we've seen it enough before. Well, what else does Laviolette have to say? Does she regret anything? And she's going to say, nah.
Now,
No, from her standpoint, after talking to her, she really believes that Jodi was victim of domestic violence, so she was very proud of her work on the stand, if you will, because she believed...
Very proud of her work on the stand, but she don't understand why people are unhappy with her. Okay.
As well, that the jury foreman's comments afterwards play right to her testimony, that the reason he didn't want to kill her, and assess the death penalty, was because he thought she was a victim of domestic violence. So she's not coming back because her
Jane's
family
shaking her
won't let her.
head, Ted. I gotta tell you, Jane's not buying it.
Jane and about 8 trillion other of us who are watching.
Oh, Ted, kudos on a great interview, by the way. But I mean, and I certainly don't condone any threats whatsoever. That's vile. But she took the word of a pathological liar who was maligning the guy whose throat she slit ear to ear. That's why people had a problem with her. Well, again,
She's a professional. Yeah.
Go ahead, Joey.
That's absolutely the problem.
She's a professional that assessed her.
Go ahead, Ted. Talk.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, anyway, enough of that. Let's move on to something else. Now, once again, we got to really thank Croaker Queen for bringing us all this good stuff. For those of us working all day, we can watch it at night. Just a sidebar where we hear from Juan what he wants to bring into the next trial and penalty about Jodi torturing cats. It was in her own notebooks. And we heard already how she kicked a dog so hard that it never came back. I think that means she killed it because it was inconveniencing her by making a mess in the yard. And another time she was poking cats with sharp objects and things. Let's listen for a second.
Pets. The defendant tortured her cat. I'm not going to get into that. And it's in her notes, and it's something that she knows about. And if this is the chart that they're going to be using, let me establish that the family of origin issue is involved. Also, the stalking, I think I have established that.
Yes, you definitely did. I want to hear about the stalking in the next trial. I'm kind of anxious to see this next penalty phase trial, aren't you? I think it's going to happen in the year 2032 if Judge Stevens keep allowing all of these delays and continuances. Let's move on to something else.
Because of motions that were filed
Hit the status conference.
last week, the court is not prepared to set a trial date today. I do need to review those motions, give the state an opportunity.
In other words, a lot of new bogus delay motions are going to endlessly be filed by Jodi's team. They're hoping this will all just go away and they'll let her out and give her a hero badge.
To respond, the defense and opportunity.
Oh, by the way, Jodi just did lizard tongue, but because she's turned around the other way, you couldn't see it.
To reply. So we agreed to set this matter for hearing on those motions.
Hey, I want you to notice something. See how Nermi put his hands there and Wilmot put their hands there? I think they're getting ready to be arrested for all of the crimes they commit in court and the perjury and stuff. Don't you think that's a good handcuff pose, kind of appropriate for them? Okay, let's see what... Hey, Nermi, where you going? Hey, not time for lunch yet. You can wait another 5 minutes, man. He's running off to the buffet before other people get all the food ahead of him.
Do September 16th.
Yeah, like that's going to happen. Like I'm going to win the lotto too, right?
The Monday?
That's a Monday. We'll start about 11:30 a.m. and then conclude court about 11:45, like our previous schedule. Judge Stephen looked a little angry. I think she's getting a little tired of this whole thing, don't you? Anyway.
I'm sorry, that was the 16th?
16th.
Moment, please.
Nermi can't figure out when someone says it's the 16th. He even delay that and say, the 16th? Okay, anyway, what is Jodi doing? Did she do the perp walk yet?
Are we assuming 8:30?
8:30.
Yes, Your Honor, that would be fine. That's fine for me.
Juan, we miss you, Juan. Want to see you back in action, Juan. These other trials just don't hold a candle. Wilmot just kind of went, ah! She didn't have much to say right there. Right there.
16th, 8:30 a.m. Oral argument on pending motions. Mr. Nermi?
Nothing, Your Honor, other than a request for an ex parte.
Okay, as far as I'm concerned, the fashion statement for the next 50 years for Jodi need to be that fashion statement right there. Okay, that's all we got to say about this one. Oh, one more little thing. Mrs. Mikey Kung Pao is helping me out as a consultant on this video, and she told me what that little projection thing there in the back of her head is called a bitch bun. So maybe you women know something about that. I don't know nothing about it, but that's what she say. Okay, so just had to come back and give you that verb.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And Jodi going to do the arrogance walk when she come out of there, but we're not going to see that. Is Alyce still carrying on? Hey, Alyce Laviolette. Alyce Laviolette, be quiet now, okay? All right, we put her down to bed, so she'd stop all that. We gave her some brisket so she could get busy with something else and quit her whining and crying about why people don't like Jodi. And so anyway, you see what's going on there. So I'm kind of looking forward to the penalty phase trial. Since all these other trials, I think I just about want to go and jump off a bridge after the Zimmerman trial and the aftermath of that thing. Everyone give me, well, not everyone give me a hard time. Most of you very supportive that I offer of some opinion. Just one man opinion, you know. But anyway, don't want to ever go back there. And some of these other trials, just not very exciting. I try to watch some of that one with, what's her name, that, you know, get 5 months or 5 years or something. What did she get again? I can't remember. Anyway, 30 days in jail, who knows. Anyway, Not interesting to me, in spite of the fact she did a pretty good acting job with the whole falling down thing and everything. When they tell her the husband dead, you know, falling down in a parking lot. Got a little Alzheimer's sometimes, can't remember people's names. I don't have any notes written down today. So I'm just going to say my signature Ryan until I come back and talk to you about some of the Mikey Kung Pao family tragedies, which I will come back in next video and tell you. And until then, I would say, of course, don't go with no sociopath.